Alright everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the Jordan Report and I am your host Robert Jordan. Everyone please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Okay guys, it should be apparent to everyone by now that we're in the opening phase of a Marxist communist style revolution in this country. It's cultural. And usually what comes with these things are these tribunals or these truth commissions or what it is that people want to call them. In Vietnam they called it something, in China they called it and something else, and then in South Africa it was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And this is what they're trying to emulate here in New York City. This is what Deblasio's doing. This is from Breitbart News, okay? This is June the 21st. New York City Mayor Deblasio said Sunday that New York City would establish a commission for racial justice and reconciliation, just like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa. What they're trying to do is internationalize a police problem here in America. They actually want the UN to come in and to get in the middle of all this stuff. This is why you would be doing all this stuff. The South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established after the end of apartheid in 1994 to investigate human rights abuses by both sides in the decades-long conflict between the white minority government and the liberation movement. Okay, you see, now we have a new liberation movement over here. We got Black Lives Matter, and we have a white minority that is being determined to be a white minority. You see what they're setting up, okay? The TRC offered potential amnesty for past human rights abuses to people who were willing to come forward and testify about what they had done. This is what they're setting the police up for. This is why they're so demonizing the police, because they want to internationalize this thing. Many people did so exposing the horrors or years of torture by state police, state security police, or brutal murders ordered by anti-apartheid organizations against rival political groups and suspected informers. I'm going to show you a clip of a former South African policeman in one of these tribunals, in one of these commissions, testifying or admitting to crimes that he's done. Some in the new African National Congress government rejected the idea that human rights abuses committed by the liberation movement could be judged by the same moral standard as those committed by the oppressors. But the TRC, led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, rejected the idea that there was a separate standard for human rights abuses based on what side of the struggle committed them. Okay? It is not clear what mass killings or political executions were carried out by New York City's Democrat-ran government, nor what the testimony of the other side would be. They're being facetious here because nothing like this has happened in the United States. And they're just creating this. They're trying to internationalize the problem. They're trying to put America on trial internationally. And that's what this is. Here's a South African guy in one of these Truth and Tribunal commissions.
I assaulted you.
No one could predict what would happen when victims confronted their torturers.
Do you remember saying to me that you are able to treat me like an animal or like a human being, and that how you treated me depended on whether I cooperated or not?
I can't remember it correctly, sir, but I would concede I may have said it.
Can I then also just ask if you remember that while I was laying on the ground that somebody inserted a metal rod into my anus and electric or shocked me?
No, sir.
It's not true that you and Khosin assaulted me throughout the trip?
If you say we assaulted you in the Kombi, then I would concede that in all probability I did.
The victims were often blindfolded during their agony.
I've never seen this bag being used myself or any other person.
Now, with the commissioners looking on, they could see, for the first time, exactly how their torturers used techniques like the wet bag to terrorize them.
In that way, cutting off the air supply to the person.
What kind of man that uses a method like this one of the wet bag to people, to other human beings, repeatedly, and listening to those moans and cries and groans, and taking each of those people very near to their deaths? What kind of men are you? What kind of men is that.
Okay, guys, coming to America. You'll see American policemen, white American policemen on trial like this if the things keep going.